Hello, so I'm going to be covering a couple of concepts today: how to configure a relying party trust, how to configure a claim party trust, how to allow two domain controller to share resources without actually sharing the account database. So the scenario that I'm going to be posting over here is a situation where I have a domain called London Cafe domain, and then I have another domain which is London Hotels domain. The companies are related to each other. However, these clients only participated in this London Cafe domain. There is a domain controller here that is not represented in this diagram because we don't need it for these purposes. Whenever this client wants to access a web server to use a resources behind the web server, like a database or like a file server, because the account is not here, this client will need to go to the ADFS in his own domain. The ADFS is going to verify his account credentials, and then it's going to be issued a token. The token will be used to access the web server. The web server is going to verify the authenticity and the authorization of this token with the ADFS. Once that is verified, then the web server is going to pass that token over to the file server or the database behind the web server, and the information is going to be sent back down to the client. One of the first things that have to happen before this process could be successfully completed is that these ADFS have to trust each other. There's got to be a way for these two ADFS to be able to authenticate, or more so verify, that this ADFS server in fact is this ADF server. One really process to do that is to use certificate. Now, if I'm using a third-party certificate like VeriSign or GoDaddy, then I just need to get a certificate, and then that would be all, and I can ensure that these and this party both trusted the certificate. However, if I'm using a self-signed certificate, then I have to get the certificate, the public certificate, of course, the public key of the certificate of these ADFS, and import it into this ADFS so that this ADFS can be configured to trust that certificate of this ADFS. Likewise, these ADFS have to trust the certificate of this ADFS. Alright, so this lab that I've put together is designed to do just that. I have my domain controller here. I call it Minneapolis domain controller, and I have Rochester domain controller. What I'm going to do over here, and I'm going to blow this up so you could see, inside the Rochester domain, and you could make sure you are sure this is Rochester. Inside the Rochester domain, I'm going to run my MMC, and inside my MMC I'm going to go to add and remove snapping, go to certificate, computer account, local, and finish. And here I'm going to export the certificate authority. I want to make sure that, and you can see, this is a Rochester domain controller certificate. This is certificate, but it was issued by this certificate authority. What I want to go to see the certification part, and I want to export the certificate. You can view the certificate. Now, one of the things that you might want to look at, especially when you're doing this, is look at the details, and you can copy to file. So copy to file and go to next. You want to make sure that only the public key is selected, make sure you do not copy your private key. And I'm going to go over here, and I can browse and put it on the desktop, and I'm going to call it Rochester cert, and I'm going to paste it over here, and I'm going to go to next, and I'm going to go to finish, and certificate has been successfully exported. Make sure, remember, that I'm actually exporting the certificate of the CA, that is certificate authority, not this issued certificate. Alright, so I have this certificate over here that I have created. I am going to copy this, I'm going to copy this certificate here, and I'm going to post it on my desktop, because I want to show you what is it that I'm doing here. I'm going to minimize this picture here at this side, and this is Rochester, so I'm going to go to Minneapolis, and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste this thing over here in Minneapolis domain. I'm going to double click it, and I'm going to install these when it comes up. The goal of this cert is to make sure that I install it. So install certificate. You can actually come back over here and look at the certification part. You can see this Rochester, and it's not trusted yet. That's why you saw this icon here. See, it's not trusted because it's not in the trusted root certificate domain. That's fine. We're going to go ahead and install the certificate on the local machine here. Go to next, and you can automatically allow it to install, or you could browse to wherever. If I want to browse to where I want to install it, I can go to, normally we'll have gone to partners, then here I could have come over here and said trusted root certification authorities. So if I select this part, and I go to next, and I go to finish, and I go to OK, then I can verify whether this certificate is trusted now by coming over here, going to my MMC, go to File, go to Hide and Remove Snapping, go to Certificates, Add, go to Computer, go to Next, and go to OK. And over here, I would look at Trusted Root Certification Authorities. Break this down, and I'm going to look for the Rochester, if I could find it. If I cannot find it, then I have to make sure I can look for where it is. So you can see now Rochester certificate is now trusted. It's on the trusted domain. So which means anywhere this guy sees the certificate, he's going to put it under trusted certificate authority. And generally, when you look at it, you can see that red icon that you saw here earlier on. It's no longer there. He didn't say I didn't trust the certificate anymore because we put it under trusted environment. Before it was saying I don't trust the certificate, but now he trusts it, which means anything communication between Minneapolis domain controller and Rochester using this certificate will be trusted. Okay, but we're not done yet. We have to do the same thing for the Rochester. Rochester have to trust, Minneapolis domain. So because of that, if I were to come over to this place and look at the certificate, I have to select this part. This is the certificate. A certificate authority of Minneapolis. I go to details. I'm going to say copy to file, and here I'm going to be saying, do you want to copy private key? And I have to say no, we don't want to export the private key. So I go to next here, and I go over here, select this part, and I put it on the desktop so I can easily grab it. And I'm going to say Minneapolis search, and then I'm going to save this over here, and it's done, successfully exported. and I have Minneapolis cert over here. Remember, I used to have Rochester. This one I imported over here. And if you think you're going to confuse it, you can actually, delete it. But I'll leave it here for now. So I'm going to copy this cert out, and I'm going to put it here. Okay, so I've copied the certificate now, the Minneapolis certificate, into the Rochester domain. And just so you can be sure, here is my Rochester domain, and here's the Minneapolis certificate. And I will do exactly what we did earlier on the Minneapolis domain, which is to install these Minneapolis certificate on the Rochester domain. That way the Rochester domain would trust this certificate. And once we're able to complete that, then we will be on our way to configure relying party trust on this ADFS. So I'll go to my details over here just so you can be sure this is Minneapolis. So I'm going to come over here and copy to file if I want to copy, but this is not what I want to do at this point. My goal here is just to install it, and I'll go to local system, go to next, and I'll select where I want it to be. I'm going to browse, and I'm going to say trusted root certificate. I'm going to select OK. I'm going to go to next and go to finish. So as you can see now, if I look at the certificate now, it's refreshed now. Now it's saying the certificate is OK, which means it's now able to contact it, and you don't have that red icon that we saw there earlier on. And I've not done anything different. The only thing was just to run the same process again. I'm going to repeat the process just so you could see. Go to local machine, go to next, select trusted root certificate, click OK, and do this, and essentially we're essentially good to go. And this thing looks just great. Certification part is here, certificate is OK. Now we know that Rochester will trust this, and we should be good to go. So just to demonstrate one more time, this is my Rochester domain, Rochester DC, and this is the Minneapolis certificate. As you can see now, this Minneapolis certificate now looks good. It's now recognized, and it's already in the trusted root certificate of Rochester, and that's what you have over here. That's Minneapolis certificate. Not this, but this. Alright, so this is the certificate authority that we care about, not this one. This one doesn't get you there. Again, that really does all the things that we really need to put in place for these two systems to talk together. I would like you to please repeat the same process in your own lab, and then in the next lab we'll be going ahead to establish a trust relationship between the two machines.